Welcome to the next installment, the January 9th installment of the Elements of Spirit reading series from ediblespirit.com and moi, Michael Domitrovich. I'm meeting with you all every Monday to offer readings through the classical elements of earth, air, water, fire, and ether. These five elements are thought to be the compositional elements, the building blocks of all of our experiences here on Earth. The physical is associated with the earth element is associated with your physical experience, the water element with your emotional experience, the air element with your mental experience, and the fire element with your spiritual transformational experience. And then the fifth element is ether, which is known as the element of space, or akasha it's sometimes called, and it can be thought of as the element within which, or the space within which all these other elements are vibrating. So the way this works is that I give you the ether reading first, and then you can go through and find your sun sign, which will be listed in the description section of this ether reading, and then you can listen to your own element. And the idea is to bring insight into how these elements are at play during this week. And the way I do the readings is I just try to get these elements to talk to me and through me, with the intention of offering you, as with everything I do here on Edible Spirit, is the intention of offering you useful, functional, wicked spiritual information that will apply to your daily life and help you to get through whatever it is that you're going through. So without further ado, we'll go for the ether reading. So we talked a little bit last week about these sort of rising waters that came in over this weekend, and I'm still getting a similar message. It's like it's got that kind of Titanic feeling, sinking ship, but less about the sinking of the ship, more about the rising of the waters. And I get this kind of icky feeling in my tummy, in my solar plexus, the center of power, of self-concept, the center of choice, action, and the center of fire, choice, action, and fire. So what this message is conveying is that waters continue to rise this week. Emotions continue to get high. Emotions continue to rise Monday to Thursday, similar to this weekend. It's not really impending doom, but it is kind of a feeling of dread, of emotional, and remember, this is manifesting differently for everyone in combination with the other elements of earth, air, water, and fire, which we'll get to in a minute. But for now, the idea is that the tides are rising, the waters are rising, the emotional temperature is, not even the temperature, but the emotional intensity is still continuing to rise, and going to continue to do so through Thursday. And be careful what you try to control this week. Check yourself. And remember that water is naturally buoyant. If you kind of go slack and just keep your head ever so slightly above the water, even as the water rises, you rise with it. So this is not about inactivity. It's not about like don't do anything. There was a lot of messages last week about don't do anything, just chill. There is a go slack quality to this, but what it's really saying is don't lock up. Don't jump to conclusions. there. It's sort of like resistance. Resistance is futile. And what I'm not seeing is it's not about flailing. So it's not about going crazy. It's not about becoming a dead weight and sinking. It's about checking yourself. Like I said, looking at choices and asking, am I choosing to go with the flow or to go against the flow? And in this case, the element of fire in the solar plexus would be the going against. It's like, am I making choices that are directly against the flow of events? Am I creating unnecessary friction? Am I choosing too hard? Am I jumping to conclusions? Am I keeping it together by any means necessary? I need to hear that one. Am I keeping it together by any means necessary? Or am I floating? Okay, cool. So, had a yoga teacher a long time ago, not a long time ago, a few years ago, who didn't love. I was like, this is not the best yoga class I've ever been to, but it ended with her making us sing "Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream" in a round. I keep seeing it, and I keep being like, no, I don't want to share this. This is silly. They're going to think it's as silly as I did. But it was good information. Row, row, row your boat means don't float. Don't just float. And don't row upstream, because you're rowing your boat gently down the stream with the current. Merrily, 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 keeping it light, keeping it happy. Life is but a dream. Probably not everything we think is going on exactly as we think it's going on. So keep it light, merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. Remember that there's much, 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 much more going on here. It's not that life is unreal. It's just that it's no more real or less real than a dream. And that, I can't prove that, but that remembrance can help you to loosen up the tightness and the fire and the intensity of the solar plexus. So that is that's a good reminder here, and a good example of the kind of energy that's being called for from the ether, which is to say, commit to gentleness. Choose to float. Floating does require something on your part. It requires you to be there. It requires you to breathe. You don't get to stop all of your autonomic processes just because you're floating. You are doing something, but you are floating. And in this case, the way that the solar plexus comes in, it's a little bit of a negatory thing, where it's like you are, even if you're not floating, just don't resist floating. Don't make it harder than it has to be. And there's good information. Interesting. There's good information coming again on Friday through the ether. And it seems like something blows through winds of change. You could miss it though. You could miss it. So be very attentive on Friday. Some of this too has to do with Mercury retrograde ending and the kind of all the intensity of the last 3 weeks kind of unpacking itself through the next few days. And then it feels like there's a new kind of, I'm not going to say clarity that blows in on Friday, because it doesn't necessarily feel clear. It has the potential to be clarifying. It has the potential to sort of sweep you off your feet, change directions, change your focus, shift your gaze. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and then immediately Saturday, Sunday, we get into a much earthier vibe coming through the ether, which is like Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't seem like you can do a lot of communicating about this insight that comes to you on Friday, but it does feel like you can do some planning. Planning regarding application of new insights. So basically, like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? So that's what it feels like to me, is stuff's going to go down Friday that that requires you to not just immediately integrate it, and to not just go with the flow come Friday, but to as these waters continue to rise, you do your best to see where they take you, see how high they lift you, see how this emotionality and these emotions and this wateriness sort of transform you, or change the atmosphere. And then come Friday, winds of change blow through. It's a little bit of a shift of focus, new insights coming in. And then those insights, you want to spend Saturday and Sunday doing some practical planning about how to apply those insights to that which you are working on or working towards, that which you desire to create. So cool. I love it. I am accepting of transition. I embrace total change. Interesting. So that's the affirmation for this week for Ether. I am accepting of transition. I embrace total change. I am accepting of transition. I embrace total change. I don't know if you can hear that, but I am accepting of transition. I embrace total change. Keep that affirmation with you. Use it anytime you feel or sense any of these elements which have been called out through the ether. Anytime you feel them sort of tweak out or express themselves, you can use that affirmation, which will sort of help you cultivate and sustain the essence of ether throughout your week. I am accepting of transition. I embrace total change. Okay, so stay tuned. Go to your air, fire, water, and earth readings, depending on your sun sign's element. That'll be in the description of this reading. And I will see you next week.